So why don't we take a look at some of all the new rules that are going to be implemented in the World Cup, starting off with the non-VAR changes. 10 seconds for subs, so substituted players must leave within 10 seconds of their replacement, otherwise they'll have to wait a minute to enter. 5-second start rule, referees can count down throw-ins and goal kicks. Failures to restart in time result in possession being lost. Injured players, outfield players who receive treatment must leave the pitch for 1 minute before returning. Goalkeeper injury stoppages. Players cannot use goalkeeper injury breaks to go to the touchline for coaching instructions. Mouth covering ban. Players who cover their mouth during a confrontation can be sent off with a red card. And also leaving in protest. Players who leave the pitch to a protest will receive a red card, and teams that cause a match abandonment can forfeit the game. So we are going to be discussing all these rules, but firstly, focusing on the 10-second substitution rule. Sub players have 10 seconds to leave the field at the nearest point of exit. If they don't, then the player due to come on must wait at least 1 minute to come on. So Witty, we have seen this in the MLS since 2024. What do you make of this rule? Has it made a difference in the MLS?
I think it absolutely has made a difference, and I think the rule is mostly there as a deterrent. I don't think it's sort of strictly enforced where there's a countdown, there's someone saying, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all right, you're out for a minute. I think the idea of the rule is for players to not waste time. And if they do in sort of an egregious manner, then the rule sort of comes into effect. The question that I always have with any new rule implementation is how seriously and how strictly are they going to enforce these rules? Because I think we see all the time wasting occurring at international tournaments. We see all the time players taking, let me pull down my socks as I'm walking off the field. If you're going to actually say you have 10 seconds to get off the field, then you have 10 seconds to get off the field. If you're going to say with the other one that we see, which is you have 5 seconds for restarts to occur, that means that we're not setting up for a long throw. That you basically, with that rule, eliminated long throws in the game. How often do we see in the Premier League teams take 40, 45 seconds to get a throw in into the field? If you're actually saying we're getting rid of these things, you have to strictly enforce them. And strictly enforce them at a time at which it will be inconvenient. If you're, let's say, I don't know, Cape Verde trying to lock down a result, it's 1-0, and you try and take every second off the clock, are you going to say, well, that new player, you're going to be down to 10 for a minute, in the 88th minute of a game that you're trying to win 1-0. If you're in the knockout round, if you're a quarterfinal, you're Argentina trying to ice a game. Are you going to say to Rodrigo de Paul or Lionel Messi or whomever, hey, you got to stay off the field for a minute because you faked an injury? Like, I really do wonder if in the actual crunch time, when it comes down to it in big games, if these rules are going to be strictly enforced or if they're there as a deterrent and hopefully you don't kind of have that confrontation of pressing up against the rule.
I think one of the things that you're talking about that I've seen and actually followed some of your broadcasts in Major League Soccer is the key thing is the nearest possible exit. At the end of the day, the World Cup is a spectacle. We are football experts, we're football fans first and foremost, and so we get into the nitty-gritty. You think of so many people in North America who have never seen a World Cup before. I think of family members I have, especially with my in-laws, who are waiting for this moment. They want to be entertained. They want that quicker pace to a game. You think of just the complaints about soccer in this country. It's too slow, there's just too much play acting, there's just too much this, and it's just this complaint about slow, not entertaining. And so from that perspective, I think Major League Soccer is onto something where, of all the things you could say about MLS, you never complain about the fact that there's too much diving, the fact that players take their time getting off the pitch for me or something like that.
The sort of flip side to that, though, is sort of the purist argument of, well, this is part of the game. If you're someone from a traditional football country and for whom this is something to be appreciated, not something to be sort of rooted out of the game, you wonder if in other countries where the dark arts is kind of part of the joy of the game, if these are basically rules legislating against the dark arts of games.
Yeah. I will say for someone that's been a part of that, though, when you're on the flip side of it, you absolutely hate it. If someone is up 1-0 and they're going down, slowing the game down, and there is no intensity or possibility to get back into the game because they're so good at controlling it. So I do love that, but on the flip, 100% I've been
when you're the team
there, when you're take as slow as you like. You're telling teammates walk to go and pick that ball up.
That is so annoying when you watch that. You're like,
So it is. It depends on what side you're on it, but I completely agree for spectators now, for the game to be as fast as possible and exciting, I think these are good.
But the thing that has happened, though, in MLS that we've seen is there have been goals that have been scored against teams that are temporarily down to 10 because a player took too long with an injury or took too long to come off the field. It has happened. And you wonder if and when that happens at a World Cup, what is the flashpoint? Because we saw in 2022 the adoption of stoppage time that is strict, meaning we give 13 minutes of stoppage time at the end of a game if the ball was out of play for 13 minutes. And then we kind of all went, is this what we want? We want 13 minutes of stoppage time in every game?
Yeah,
so right.
Yeah.
So if what happens in a game is there is a scenario where a team gets scored against down to 10 at the FIFA World Cup, the biggest tournament for all 48 teams that are going to be there, are you going to say, well, what are we doing with these rules? The manager will definitely complain about it after the game. The players will complain about it. It'll be a talking point on all the debate shows immediately after. Does FIFA sort of have the gumption to keep going with it?
Yeah. Well, another rule that has been implemented for this World Cup are hydration breaks. So we're going to be taking a look to see what that exactly entails for this summer's tournament. So there will be 3 minutes allowed in each half, around the 22nd minute, for a hydration break due to the extreme temperatures in the host countries. Jen, talking from a player perspective, how do you think these hydration breaks will affect the momentum of the games? Because we even saw it in the Champions League final, didn't we, between Arsenal and PSG? There was a hydration break in that game, and it did kind of kill the momentum.
Yeah, this one is interesting, because I think in so many different ways you can look at it differently, and I think momentum is the biggest one. If I'm a player on the pitch and we are absolutely flying, the last thing I want is a 3-minute break for the team opposition to have 3 minutes to figure out why it's happening.
Yeah.
So totally different ways. Of course, performance, hydration break is important if it's really hot, and you need those breaks to, reset, regroup, get whatever you need in to continue the rest of the half. And then on the flip side, if I'm a player on the pitch and something's not quite working out, I'm so grateful that I've got those 3 minutes coming up to talk to my teammate, to talk to my manager, to have those little conversations. And effectively, if it still makes the first 45 minutes really, really intense and still at the highest because of that 3 minutes and doesn't disrupt the rest of the half, it doesn't allow other players to go down, I personally think it's a positive.
Yeah, this was posh.
Yeah, this was. Look, as a football enthusiast, and maybe I'm just a football purist, I don't like the amount of hydration breaks. And what you talked about where the stadiums are being played, this is an overcorrection for me from the FIFA Club World Cup, where last summer, we heard Jude Bellingham complain about it. We saw videos of Borussia Dortmund players sitting in the locker room watching other teams play because, it's hot here in North America, but you also correct it by putting games in stadiums in hot places that have a roof over their heads. So I don't like it because it's changing the way football is actually played. This reminds me, I think we're going to see a part of football at a point almost look like basketball, where the game is going to be split in almost four quarters. Stop, start, stop, start. When have you ever seen a manager have time? Is it 3 minutes?
Yeah.
That's a lot of time in a football match. A manager has 3 minutes to pull out a laptop and then go through PowerPoint slides, tactic boards. It's not football.
Yeah.
For me, it's a way too big of an overcorrection.
Yeah, and look, in games in which it is that hot outside, it makes total sense. But you're sort of right to point out, you look at the schedule for the first few days of the World Cup. I'm actually a little bit worried about the opener. It's in the middle of the day at the Azteca. But after that, here are the afternoon kickoffs at the World Cup. Second day, Canada against Bosnia-Herzegovina at BMO Field in Toronto. It's not going to be that hot there. 3 o'clock kickoff in Santa Clara in California. It just doesn't get that hot in the Bay Area. 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. at Energy Stadium and AT&T Stadium, roofs over the heads. 12 and 3, Atlanta and Seattle. Heat not going to be a concern. 3 p.m. East Rutherford, maybe in New Jersey, it can be hot during the day. But if you look at the early parts of the tournament, they have scheduled this tournament well in terms of putting dome stadiums and milder climates in the afternoon and the warmer climates in the evening where, yes, it is still hot, but it's not quite as oppressive with the sun going down. So I think this is an overcorrection. And let's be very clear that one of the things that you can do from this, beyond the fact that it's a tactical break, is it can also be a commercial break. And this is the introduction of commercials, we think, into the middle of a football match. I think that's sort of what is creeping into the game here.
Is it hydration or tactical break? Because it's saying hydration break, but 3 minutes is too long for me, first and foremost. That's become exactly what you were saying. It's way more than a hydration break should be 90 seconds max. And the game restarts. When it's becoming laptops out, watching clips, it's going back to 4 quarters basketball. That's far too long. That breaks up the play. I think a hydration break, 90 seconds max.
Especially when the other rules that we talked about are meant to speed the game up, have more action. And then you're just taking a complete break in the middle of the game when the whole game is about flow. It is about the ebbs and flows over 45 minutes. And the player is having to figure it out for themselves on the field. And if you can't, your opponent will beat you. And I think that's such a key part of the game that you lose here. And it now becomes a key part of the strategy. I actually thought we showed the clip Sarah Pochettino watching on the laptop. In the March window, when they played Belgium and Portugal, the U.S. kind of got slaughtered after the hydration breaks in both of those games where they couldn't adjust. It now becomes a part of the game, which is completely unforeseen in previous versions of football.
Just very quickly for me, Hannah, I know you want to jump in here. One thing that is going to be the elephant in the room from this World Cup going into the Premier League season, they dubbed it the anti-Arsenal rule, is you can now have the chance as a referee to go back in VAR set-piece situations. You think of what that could change, not just in the World Cup.
Before it's taken.
Before it's taken. You go back to the West Ham match, how significant that was. That could have decided the Premier League on that day. That is one to watch at this World Cup and also moving forward in the league.
So these are all the new rules that implement VAR. So incorrectly awarded corner kicks as long as it doesn't delay the restart. Any attacking fouls that happen before players started. That's an interesting one, as you mentioned, Lahoud, because so many corners now in the world of football are very physical. Review of second yellow cards. So if a red card is issued from the second yellow, that is clearly incorrect. The VAR can then intervene, and also mistaken identity. So when a player is punished with a yellow card or a red card for a foul committed by another player.
Thanks for watching this video from Morning Footy. For all news and insights regarding leagues around the world like EFL, Serie, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount Plus.